What's on, everyone? A bit of Cornish for Jack. Usually that means hello. How's it going? What's on? How are you, Jack?
Yeah, good. Well, not good, but as good as I can be.
Ah,
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if anyone is watching this, please give us a little bit of wiggle room because it has been a dreadful 24 hours. It's not always easy doing this content creation lark, is it? Let's be honest. But
Well, at least we've all calmed down from yesterday. We've given ourselves half a day. Well,
yeah, can't slightly calm down. Oh, we'll get there, mate. We'll get there. I mean, do we just dive straight in? Should we just go straight into the match and get over and done with?
yeah, let's just shift.
Yeah.
Shift
All
gears.
right then. So today on the Cannon Forward podcast, I mean, it's more of a review and stuff today, but Brighton 1-1. I mean, I've got there the lineup from the game and then a little quote from Calafiori where he said it's not the moment to think too much about the title. We need to focus on ourselves. I mean, yeah, we definitely can't think about the title too much now, I don't think. But how did you feel about the lineup coming out yesterday?
I wasn't happy with it, but then once the reasoning sort of came out about Odegaard being ill, I was like, oh, nothing you can do. And then when he came on, I was like, yeah, this guy's not fit, not ready. Like he was there for emergencies, so it wasn't great, but it's probably the best we could have done. The only
Yeah.
thing that surprised me when it started was that Rice was in the right eight rather than the left. But other than that, it was
Yeah. I mean, I put out a tweet just before saying, "Oh, this could be an opportunity that we see like that underlapping that he did for England."
mhm.
It was just, I don't know. I just worry sometimes, like the lineups are so predictable, and you get away with it when you've got all your best players and you know you can outplay a team. I think you get away with it a little bit, but his hand was kind of forced. I think we all knew Party was going in at right back. I mean, there's nothing much else you could do. I know James was suggesting Declan Rice. I was coming around to it a bit actually because at first I thought I don't think I can speak to James ever again. But the
He's got the
more
way of words, hasn't he? Where the more you listen to it, you're like, you kind of start to, even if you still think he's wrong, you kind of start to agree because he just articulates it really well.
he'd be a great car salesman, James. I think
He
maybe
would.
maybe in another life that's what he did. But
So Oscar Eskimo.
yeah, but it was as the game progressed. I did a little TikTok, following in your footsteps, mate, for the king of
Oh, thanks.
TikTok. Yeah, so I put one out at half time, and I said Jorginho just didn't look right to me, and I thought
No.
maybe we bring him out, we put Partey there, and we put Miles Lewis Skelly at right back, or we put Calafiori to right back, Miles and left back. But it's just so predictable at the moment. And that lineup, I looked at it and it just, I don't know. If I was Brighton, I'd be looking at it thinking, yeah, we're going to get a point, and
Hmm.
that's never a good thing to send that message to the opposition. Um, yeah, talk us through your kind of thoughts, first half, second half, mate.
First half was kind of, do you know what? I thought it was going to be a little bit like Brentford, where KG first half, no one's really the better team. It's a bit scrappy. And then second half, come out, just grab a second, be it a corner, whatever it happens to be, and just sort of kill the game. But it just wasn't that. Like we came out, it was KG, got a semi lucky opener, maybe. I think the goalkeeper should have done a lot better with it. And then, yeah, second half, thought we'd come out with a little bit more control and just almost did the complete opposite. It's just sort of, it looked more frantic in the second half than it did the first, and yeah, just went away from us. And then I think the players seemed to lose their heads after the penalty decision as well.
Yeah.
I think they were gone after that, which isn't the right way to manage a game, but they looked so almost defeated that had been given that the sort of final 20 minutes, you knew it was going to peter out.
Yeah, it was. I think you actually said it on the watch along. It was really nice. They kind of asked you. I think Turkish was the one who said, like, Jack, like, what are your thoughts? You've been pretty quiet, and you said about control. Like, there's no control in the whole game. It was really, really bizarre, especially for us in terms of even looking at that midfield of Rice, Jorginho, and Marino. It's not a dynamic midfield by any means, But there was one thing that you'd look at and you go, retain possession,
Mhm.
recycle the ball, and it was just it was just odd. It was really like not Arsenal. It's not a performance that I'm kind of used to for that reason. The first half, I thought we did really well. Winery, breaking the record for the first Arsenal player to score 2 Premier League goals before turning 18. So that was like a really nice moment. You had, I thought Calafiori did really well. Great numbers in the first half. Declan Rice leading the press. It was something I wouldn't have expected prior to the game, but he did really well in that position. I will kind of have a look at the stats and stuff after. But in the first half, I thought it wasn't great, but same as you. I thought, well, we could take over soon and kind of
Mhm.
get some goals maybe, but the changes at half time. Now we know Waneri came off for an injury, which isn't great. But at the time, I was fuming. I think I put something out like, "Oh, what a reward for scoring a goal, getting taken off." But again, forced hand with Arteta, and maybe it wasn't the right choice. Like, were you like, what would you have done having known when Ari was injured? Would you have made the same change, or would you done it differently?
It's difficult because there just really isn't much on the bench. I mean, you look at names, you've got the two young attackers there, probably not the right scenario to throw them into. Odegaard, we know, wasn't fit for any more than sort of 10, 20 minutes. So what can you do really? I don't think, and there's no one really that's already in that team that you can put out on the wing. So it was just one
Mm-hmm.
of them ones where I think there was too much you could do. But like you say about that midfield, when I looked at it before the game, I was like, oh, it'll probably control the game pretty well, but there's nothing incisive. Like I might not create. So when we were 1-0
Yeah.
up at half time, I was like, actually, I'm not that annoyed about that midfield now because it should actually start to control the game. They'll win a lot of duels, they'll keep the ball nicely, but almost a complete opposite.
Yeah, yeah, and it really was. I think Brighton in the end just kind of ran over us in midfield, which is just
Mhm.
bonkers, isn't it? I mean, I think the only thing, I mean, hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? But looking at it, Martinelli on the right, he doesn't convince me. I mean, he doesn't convince me on the left at the moment either, to be fair. But um, he's quite a direct player. And you could tell on his right foot, he doesn't want to go down the flank. He doesn't want to go outside people. And in which case, maybe they could have just said, switch around as much as you want. Jesus, you go to the right. Like Trossard, you go to the false nine. Martinelli, you go down the left. Or Martinelli, even go down the middle. Because more and more, I look at him and I think maybe he is a striker. He's
Mhm.
he's so instinctual. He's one of these players that give him time, he makes the wrong choice. But give him a split second, usually he does well. So like our last game, his finish was excellent. It was such a good finish, but he didn't have much time to think about it. So maybe just go free flowing and just say, once you're in that final third, do what you want. Like we've done our job getting you there. It's like kind of. Do you remember Thierry Henry talking about Pep gets us to the final third, and it's our job, and we have to
Yeah.
do our jobs until then. Like keep high and wide, get to that final third, and then just essentially just cause chaos because there wasn't. It was just too easy for Brighton. But
And
ah,
it's too passive as well, almost. I think there was a moment towards the end, Martinelli knocked it round someone, got to the byline. I looked in the box. Jesus was stood next to Martinelli on the right wing, asking for it short. Trossard was outside the box. Moreno hadn't made his way in. Odegaard had come for a short pass, and Rice was sitting. I was like, even if he does cross it, there's no one even in there. And this is
yeah,
sort of 85th, 86th minute of the game, and there's just no one committed forward.
yeah, it's bonkers, isn't it? I mean, we might as well address the elephant in the room as well. There's obviously the penalty for Brighton.
Yeah.
Um, I go back and forth with it. Like I
Mhm.
try to stay as neutral as I can, which is easier said than done when you're an Arsenal fan. I just I look at it and I can understand why it's given in the kind of in the moment. VAR take forever to do anything. I mean, we saw it with the Newcastle call when they didn't even draw the lines and they still took about 10 minutes and they didn't even do the job properly. So for them to just within 3 to 5 seconds decide no, it's a penalty, move on. it's just beyond me. I don't understand what the officials are genuinely doing. And the more and more time goes on, and maybe it's just because I'm getting bitter and old, but I do look at PGMOL and think, is there an agenda? Because it can't be coincidence that we have the Martinelli 2 yellows, the Tomiyasu red that he had, the slowing down a restart with Trossard and Declan Rice, and then we never see these things again. Like they're just always for Arsenal. Like we're kind of always the people that are, oh, I know who we can use to just show everyone that we're making up a new rule or whatever it is at the time. I don't know. I think I just don't see it as a penalty. He's going for the ball. You look at the replays, and the ball does, he makes contact with the ball sleever. Then it changes direction as well, albeit slight, but it does change direction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What's going through your head at the time? Did you think it was a pen? Did you think it wasn't? Do you still think it was? I don't know.
Anthony Taylor was the ref, right? I think.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel sympathy for him and the way that he's getting a lot of abuse online, because when I first saw it, I thought this is a penalty, fair enough. And obviously he only gets one look at it. So I don't put the blame at him. I put the blame at VAR, because I watched it in real time and I watched the one replay we got, and I thought, oh, Saliba's gone to head the ball. He's missed it. He's connected with Pedro. So it's him that's gone into Pedro. It's the same as like if you stick a leg out and don't get the ball, you've just tripped him, knocked him over, whatever.
Yeah.
For me, it's a penalty. So with that, I'm fine. But like you say, with VAR, once you slow it down, it hits Pedro's head, it hits Saliba's head, and then they hit each other. It's a clash of heads in the box. It's nothing more than that. It's you can stop play if you really want to and give a drop ball to Brighton and let them keep playing. But
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
it's never a penalty for me. And it's like you say with VAR. I didn't think it was a penalty at the time. I saw the slow mo replay. No, sorry, I did think it was at the time. Saw the slow mo replay. Thought, no, that's never a penalty. I've now seen something that I didn't see before, which I thought was the whole point of VAR. And even if they don't see it, surely you can at least send them to the screen and be like, oh, you might not have seen it at the time because it was really quick, but the ball does actually touch Saliba's head. Does that change your mind at all? And then you'd probably go, actually, yeah, clash your heads. Let's do a drop ball. But they don't even give him the opportunity to change his mind, which is the bit that baffles me. And like you say, we always seem to be the experiment of they try something new. Like they're kicking the ball away. They do it every year. There's something new that they say they're going to crack down on. They crack down on it for about 2 months, realize they've gone a little bit extreme, and then bin it off. Like even we're not getting the delay in the restart yellows now, really. Like the kicking the ball away ones, they've seemed to have abandoned that. But we just seem to be the guinea pigs for it almost every year.
Yeah, and it's always like the most innocuous, like strange rules that they decide, oh, we're going to make a big agenda about this one. And you think that's not the problem. There are far bigger problems in our sport. Yet you're choosing kicking the ball away and delaying a restart. This one, it's just, I've never seen it before, and I can guarantee you I'll never see it again. And it wasn't long after there was another incident, nothing made of it. It's just saying, like, we had, do you know what's ironic as well, is that it must have been only, about 2 weeks ago that Pedro tried to take someone's head off. And
he should have been suspended for the game.
Yeah. And then he's rolling around on the floor from a header. Like, that's what it is. It's nothing like particularly dangerous. You can tell Saliba's attention is not to take out the player. It's just bonkers to me. But I mean, I don't want to go on about it too much because the performance is the reason why we didn't get the 3 points at the end of the day.
We can't use this like a get out of jail free card and just be like, oh, we should have won, but this. Like, it shouldn't even have been at a point where one decision is the thing that stops us.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, would you attribute our kind of inability to get 3 points at the moment to? Is it the players? Is it the manager? Is it just pure luck of the draw with the injuries and the decisions? Like, where you kind of, if you've got to put the blame in one camp more than the other. No sitting on the fence now, Jack. That's what I'm trying to do.
I'm looking more at the manager because I think there's a lot of people out there that sort of give him a bit more leeway than he deserves, in my opinion, because people seem to forget that he's not Arsenal first team coach or Arsenal head coach. He's Arsenal
Mm,
manager. So these new contracts that we're giving, the players we're letting go, the players we're bringing in, this is all he has majority say in all of this. So you let Smith Rowe go, Fabio Vieira go out on loan, but then don't trust Ranieri when Odegaard gets injured. That's
yeah,
you made all those decisions. We spent the whole summer chasing Moreno. He was the guy you really, really wanted. So you're gonna have to die on that hill. Unfortunately, you're the one that didn't want a premium attacker and got Sterling at the end. Like these are all decisions that look like they're going to cost us. And he is Arsenal manager. Obviously Edu would have had a big say, but this is more often than not, it's his team. So
yeah.
uh, I'm looking at him. I mean, obviously, look, injuries are unfortunate, and you have them seasons, and we're having one of them seasons where just nothing goes your way. But you've got to be prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, I I do worry what's going on behind the scenes slightly. I
Mhm.
like Arteta. I think for a manager and his first ever tenure, he's done incredibly well. But there's just too many things going on where we had Vinay, we've had Edu, we've yeah, so many changes behind the scenes, like the coaches that he didn't like certain coaches speaking about him and his tactics and kind of questioning him. And I think that's really important in any job, in any role. You have got to be reflective. You've got to be able to look and go, okay, we've made a mistake. How do we deal with that? And as quickly as possible. And I think far too often Arteta does make the right call in the end, and he does make the adjustments needed. But it's always later than we all can see. So like you talked
Mhm.
about Waneri coming in for Odegaard. It was the obvious decision. And I think maybe at first you go, is he ready? Is he experienced enough? Can he take on that pressure? Maybe we keep him out for the first game. But when it goes on week after week after week, and you can see Trossard's not performing, you can see that this like front two system isn't working, or whatever you want to call it, this Cruyff diamond, as James would love to talk about.
Mhm.
But at some point, you go, right, okay, let's pack that up. Let's put it as like a plan B now. Let's put Waneri in, see how he performs. If he's not doing well, by the second half, we then revert back to seniority. But it's just far too often that he is doing this, and it's not me saying oh, tear out, let's get rid of him or anything. But at some point, you do have to kind of look at the manager.
Yeah,
And there's
it's sort of every season for me as well with these decisions that you're talking about. I remember the last year that we were chasing top form, we just missed out. I think Lacazette hadn't scored in 10-15.
yeah,
Just would not bring in Ketia in. He brings him in. He gets two at Stamford Bridge. I think he scores against Leeds, and he has a nice little end to the season, but it's too late. And then the year after, when we're fighting for the title, Saliba gets injured, and it's holding at Anfield. It's holding at the Etihad, and it's disaster after disaster. I remember the Southampton game; he was really, really poor, and we drew 3-3. Finally, brings in Kivior against I think
yeah,
Newcastle away, top class. Plays him against Chelsea at home. He's great. It's too late. It's almost like a loyalty to the players that have been there longer. I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, Kivior, you're new, but Holding's been here for ages, so he is first port of call. And sometimes you just need that ruthlessness of we play a high line. We like playing with the ball at feet with our centre backs. Rob, you just can't do it. Who's going to come in, or Lacazette. I know you're the captain, where you've been wearing the armband, but it's just not working. So I'm giving Eddie a run, and yeah, it just seems to be far too late. I don't know whether it's stubbornness or loyalty, or both of which can be good traits, however you want to spin it. But
yeah. I yeah. I You can tell we're just both. It's the narrative of the
it's
season,
deflated
isn't it?
now.
Yeah, I mean, let's have a look at this little bit. So yesterday, expected goals. I mean, you got to take into account obviously the penalty, but they were relatively similar if you take out the penalty itself. Big chances 5-3, total shots 11-9. So I mean, in all honesty, 1 point is probably what both teams deserved. And then you look at the ratings. Declan Rice was the only player on the pitch to kind of get an 8, and even still, I would say that's probably generous. I was talking to FK from Latte Firm in the last podcast about this, and we were saying, it can't be an individual who's choosing these. It must be to do with an algorithm and data. But
Mhm.
just look across the park, and in that spine of the team, you haven't got one player a 7. I felt sorry for Jesus as well. I looked at him. He's got the lowest rating there, but he was quite often moving and moving defenders out with his movement. But there were no runners. So it was like
Mhm.
absolutely pointless. It was a case of you might as well, like you mentioned it earlier, when Martinelli gets down the wing, you might as well just be in the box. I know it's not your game, and you are that player that, he is kind of like a false 9 as such, but at that point, just there's no reason to be moving around and stuff, because all you're doing is creating more holes and more congestion and wide spaces. It was just, uh, it, it's just dreadful. And now with Ranieri out, we have literally got Trossard, Jesus, and Martinelli as our options up front. That's it.
Mhm.
We
For
have
Newcastle.
nothing else. You know, whether we bring in a youngster, I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute, but we're never going to get a deal over the line in time for that. It's
No.
Tuesday, isn't it? We're playing.
Yeah,
So,
Tuesday night. So
so, so again, that predictability, Newcastle are going to look at the team and go, wow, we know it will be Martinelli, Trossard, and Jesus. So Martinelli's going to be out on the right, isn't he? Trossard on the left, Jesus. I mean, for me, I said it a minute ago, I would play Trossard down the middle for that, Jesus out on the right and Martinelli on the left, and then just let them interchange. But I don't think we'll see it. I really don't. But right, let's move on for that. If I stay on there too long, I'm just gonna go in a spiral of depression. So we'll do this even more positive. Is it all over? Come on, Jack, give me some positivity. Is it all over?
uh no, but it's 99% reliant on an absolute Liverpool capitulation than it is anything we can do. I think this isn't a right regroup in January, smash the second half of the season, and it's still in our grasp. It's we need Liverpool to do the bottle job of all bottle jobs, and then I mean, by the time this comes out, I don't know whether Liverpool Man United will have happened, if it's even happening. So it could be on track for them to be 11 points clear. It could be a little bit less, but yeah, it's just one of them seasons, and it's unfortunate it's happened now. And this isn't me being like, "Oh, woe is Arsenal. It's always us." It's one of them years. Liverpool had it the other year where they ended up playing like Reece Williams and Jordan Henderson as centre
Yeah.
backs because they were just ravaged by injuries. So Chelsea had it last year. I think they had a whole starting 11 out at one point. You look at Spurs this season with their back four. Just one of them years where just nothing goes for you. The ref decisions, the red cards, these new rules, all the injuries. It is what it is. No one you can really blame particularly. It just comes round, and it just happens to be our turn, annoyingly.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at the form on the table, it's just dreadful all over. I mean, you've got
Hmm.
Newcastle who are playing next. They're an informed team. You've got Nottingham Forest of all teams, right up there battling with us. And that's about it. I mean, Liverpool, obviously, if you look at it over 5 games, if you're looking at 10, 15 games, their form has been unbelievable. But just think, I don't know, is the quality, here's a good question for you, Jack, because I've gone back and forth with this. Is the quality of the Premier League right now better than ever? Or is it actually poorer than ever?
I think it's become better than ever, and the reason I say that is there's consistency in the upsets we're seeing. Like you look at a Fulham, they got a point against us, which obviously people laughed at, but then they go and get a draw at Anfield, and then they go and win at the Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Bournemouth beat us, and we say, "Oh, we've got 10 men." It's one of them games. But then they go and beat Man City, and then Everton hold us to draw at the Emirates, and then go and a draw against Chelsea, and then go to the Etihad and get a 1-1. Like the quality seems to be up in so much that really, bar those bottom three, I could see a difficult game for anyone. Even Liverpool going away to who's right down there? Wolves.
Yep.
I'd fancy something.
Yeah, I mean, I'd even argue like if you look at the bottom three, they've all got players in like a Dibbling, a Vardy. I just Ipswich have come up with the goods recently. Everyone kind of laughed and were like, "Oh, scraped by Ipswich." It's not easy, you know.
Mhm.
It is not easy. I I wonder if like the overall performance of each team and the tactics. I mean, you look at the general ability of managers. I think managers have definitely gone up and up and up in terms of quality. I just think at the top of the league, the quality has gone down, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. So
Mhm.
everyone, that disparity between the top and the bottom has kind of diminished, and everyone's kind of become a lot more squished. Whether or not, yeah, teams at the top of the table. Because I look at Liverpool, and I mean, I'll probably get lynched for this. Liverpool have had a fantastic season. Okay, they are nowhere near as good as the last Liverpool team to win the Premier
No,
League.
not at all.
They're just not. I watch them and I see so many holes, especially in transition. I look and I go, God, they're so easy to get at. They are. They really are. Yeah, you look at the look at the goals, like 17, like to 45. They've got a goal difference of 28. So regardless, if you look at it stats wise, they look excellent. But in reality, I don't think they are. Like we're in second place. I don't think we're anywhere near our best.
No.
Attacking wise, it's so lethargic, and we've got such a lack of options. We got the same attack as we did 3 to 4 years ago. You know, nothing
Mhm.
has changed. So I think maybe yeah, the average has probably gone up, but that's because all the teams lower down have got better. But there we go. We'll move on away from that. So here's the big question, Jack. Right, the January transfer window is upon us.
Mhm.
I'm starting to change my mind about this. So if you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have gone right, go big, do the release clause for Gyökeres, get him in, ruffle Newcastle's feathers and put down an £80 million offer for Isaac, which they will reject. Okay, they would reject that, and I would understand that. But put it out there as a marker and upset the player. Get him thinking, oh, maybe I rock the boat here. Maybe I do a Luis Suarez and say I'm not training, I'm not doing this. See what you can do. But now I do think the season is more or less over. Like you say, it's going to be one of the most monumental bottle jobs ever for Liverpool not to win it now. And regardless, even if they lose several games, I don't think we've got the consistency to make up that points gap anyway. So, do we go big for someone? Do we just go? In actual fact, we wait to the summer, which I know would I kill a lot of the fan base. But part of me is looking at it going, what's the point now? I mean, you could
Mhm.
argue the cup runs, but we all know, like, look at the team that we had when we won the FA Cup last time. It wasn't the best team. We've seen teams like Greece win the Euros. They weren't a fantastic teams. I think sometimes you need a bit of luck, which we don't have this season as well, anyway. So, like, what would you do? All right, we're putting you in the director's seat. All right, you're in control. You can tell Arteta to do one. You're just doing what you want, Jack. Who do you go and try to sign now, and what do you do in the summer?
For me, I do release clause or nothing because I'm sure the club will have a plan of who they want in the summer already. There'll be sort of the first blocks will be in place. So I wouldn't do anything like pay stupidly over the odds for someone just to get them in January if it's going to affect what we're going to do in the summer. Obviously, release clause, you can't end up paying over the odds. So
Mhm.
I think you've got either of the victors. They're out there, they're available, they'd want to
Yep.
join, be that Osimhen. I think he's got a break clause at Galatasaray
Yes. Yep.
or Gyökeres, and then you got Nico Williams out on the left, who, to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of, but I think the left wing market is so dead at the minute that there's really not that much out there. And I think the main problem that a lot of Arsenal fans have is that we're going to go into season 6 next year,
Yep.
How are we in a position where we still need a striker, still need a left winger, still need a backup for Saka, probably still need a left eight unless Moreno turns it round? Like, how is there 3 positions? Like, how many strikers in the Premier League can you name that are better than Jesus? How many left wingers can you name that are better than Martinelli? If you want to win the league, you need top 5 in each position, probably. You need some
Yep.
of the best and then in and around. But I'm looking at what we've got, and they all need improving. So whether you're going to be able to do that in a couple of windows, I'm not sure. But I think one of the victors, preferably Gyökeres for me, and then see where we go. I think the Isaac light is dwindling for me. I think it was if they don't get any Europe, he might push for it. But with the way they're looking now, they might get top 4, probably a banker for Europa. So I think he might stick that one out.
Yeah, I think he's got what 3 years left. I know people have gone,
Mm.
"Oh, he's not signing a new contract." He's still got 3 years left. Like the power is in Newcastle's hands on that deal, and when he's in the vein of form that he's in, I mean, they can literally go, "We want 130, 140 million."
Mhm.
And that's it. That's the marker. Don't pay it. You're not getting anywhere near the door. So it's just so difficult. I I'd agree with like the market itself, like those two in Victor Osimhen and Victor Gyökeres right now. If you are going big and you're going right, we are going for it. We're going to try and make up this points gap. We're going to try and get like one of the cups, albeit Champions League, FA Cup, whichever one it is. We need a goal scorer. We're going to change our system. That makes perfect sense. I think you look at the half space crosses. And I know now without Saka, it's a bit more difficult, and Odegaard's not really been in form. So, and they're the 2 kind of prime suspects for those half space crosses. But Osimhen would be perfect for those. Like I
Mhm.
hate watching him, and then I see him, and he pops up with one of those headers or a little half volley, and you go, "That's what we need."
Mhm.
Gyökeres scored another hat trick in his last game. I think he's now in a calendar year he is in the top 5 ever. So just behind Luis Suarez, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, and Lewandowski in a calendar year. You know, was it over 60 he scored? Something
I
like that.
think so. It's a
Like, I
stupid
mean,
amount.
which is insane. And I'm quite a tactical, like I like to look at a player and go, what will they bring us? How will they fit the system? Rather than just look at the individual themselves.
Mhm.
Because environment is king. We've seen far too many good players like Fernando Torres. I can distinctly remember him going to Chelsea and he just couldn't do it because the system wasn't right for him. He didn't
Mhm.
suddenly become a better player. And we've seen it so many times, like Alexis going over to United, or these big moves sometimes don't work. But I look at someone like Gyökeres and I just think he's a profile we don't have. Like, why not? Why not put him in there and change the system slightly to him rather than him fit our system? Because if you've got a player who's capable of scoring that many goals, it's probably worth like paying the release clause and getting him in. And I know you probably ruffle some feathers with someone like Havertz or Jesus, but at the end of the day, there's quite a few players, especially in our attack, who should be looking at the moment over their shoulders and thinking, I might be out the door come the summer.
Mm.
But
Even when you look at like a Man City, they do it so well where, Grealish comes for 100 million, has a couple of decent seasons, and it's like, all right, well, Doku's here now, so like, sorry, but you're gonna have to fight with him. And then with the change in the system thing, they've gone from Aguero to Haaland. Like, there's not more.
yeah,
Well, Jesus to Haaland, essentially, and there's not much more of a sort of difference in profiles than those two, and that they've found the way to make it work, and they're better for it. And what we were saying earlier about Arteta with loyalties and a little bit of arrogance, I think he does kind of have that. Where it's, like we could do with a new striker, but we've got to. And tactically, Havertz is my guy, and Jesus is a great little backup. So we'll stick with what we've got because I think if we improve the system, they'll be better for it. And it's like bit of
and
ruthlessness, I think.
yeah, and I mean it's so weird, isn't it? Because he was pretty ruthless with Ramsdale. I mean, at the
Mhm.
same time, I don't know how much time they really has in terms of both deals with Ramsdale and Raya. So maybe they didn't have time to get Ramsdale out of the door and for the fee that they wanted. But nonetheless, they did get him out the door, and he was a beloved player by the fans. The players themselves really liked him, but eventually they moved him on. But you look at like the left back situation. We have got we've got about 100 players right now who could play left back. Why are they all still at the club? Like Kieran Tierney, I love Kieran Tierney, doesn't fit our system at all, hasn't been moved on. Like, I just don't understand how he is still there. Like,
Mhm.
Zinchenko, constantly injured, really should be moved on by now. You know, we've got Lewis Skelly, we've got Tommy Asu, another player who's never, ever available, still there. And then you're getting Calafiori, and we're still kind of looking at the left back situation going, is it really what we want? You know, but which kind of is a worrying thing, because I think if we're really looking towards the summer, we've got Neto, who's leaving. So we've still
Mhm.
got to buy, our
A
annual
goalkeeper.
goalkeeper. You mentioned the left 8, so we probably need to do that. Partey and Jorginho both have contracts expiring. So
Mhm.
nonetheless, we're either going to have to renew one, or we might have to get in a replacement. I don't know what we do with that situation. We've got the left wing situation where none of our left wingers are really performing. No one's happy with our striker at the moment in Havertz or Jesus. And then we've still not got back up for Saka.
Mhm.
Who do you come in? Who do you get to come in for a replacement for Partey or Jorginho? Who do you keep out of them? Or do you get rid of both? Like, what do you do there?
I get rid of both, but
Oh, I love it.
because my thing with it is there's been a lot of people out there who rightly so have been praising Partey this season. Sort of, he's been our best player, but I think for me, I'm looking at if I'm giving someone a new contract, I'm looking at what they're going to give me for the duration of the contract, not what have they done to earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Party's been great, but the contract isn't saying you've been great. It's saying you're going to be great for the 2 years we're going to pay you for. And for
Yep.
me, with his injury record, he's what, 30 now, 31 or
Yeah,
something.
I'll double check. I'll double check what his wages are as
Yeah.
well.
So has he earned a new contract? Definitely. Will he be the same player for the duration of said contract? Probably not, which is why I'm on for moving him on. And then Jorginho, I think, is probably going to go into coaching, might do a year in Italy and
Yeah.
come back and take a different role. So, but then the problem you've got is you then need to budget that role, because if you do need to bring in a replacement 6, you can't go big on it, because then you can't afford to spend on your striker or your left winger. So I think he'll end up renewing Party. Just take the budget option and then sort of trying to spend big elsewhere. But I mean, they were talking about it on the watch along yesterday, and the more I thought about it, the more I want to get my tinfoil hat on. But he's got something with forwards that he just isn't ruthless. Like you're saying there with Ramsdale, fan favourite, player favourite, ruthless. You know, Tierney was on track to be Arsenal captain,
Mm,
one of the better left backs in the league. Sorry, you don't fit my system, so Zinchenko's coming in. Ben White's been one of the most consistent players, and then in comes Timber as your competition slash replacement. But then you look further forward, and it's even Party, player of the season, arguably, when he's fit, and then Rice
yeah.
comes in. But forwards, he just doesn't seem to have that at all. I can't think as to why, but just won't make similar calls further up the pitch. Whether it's because it's more expensive to do so, but
I wonder if he. It's weird, isn't it? Because he came in with a reputation with Leroy Sane and Sterling for kind of
Mhm.
changing the trajectory of their careers and really being their coach. Um, and then you look at the performance of attacking players, and I'm trying to think about it now. I would hazard a guess that really the only player that's developed exponentially is Saka.
Mhm.
You look at Lacazette, Aubameyang, Martinelli. I mean, there's quite a big list of players that have really maybe not regressed all of them. I wouldn't say Martinelli's regressed as such, but stagnated, definitely. He's plateaued in his performances. And the others definitely did. I just don't know if he really knows what he wants out of his attackers. I think, like, it kind of goes back to that thing of, like, does the player fit your system, or does your system need to fit the player? I look at Martinelli and I just think he's so isolated out on that left-hand side. You haven't addressed another player like Xhaka to come in to support him, but you're still asking him to do the same defensive duties and do the same work being like high and wide. And he's not a touchline winger. He's just not. So why are you just constantly going with that? And Trossard, same. Fantastic player, loves to pick up in the spaces and the pockets. He's pretty clutch player most of the time. You know, you could argue, you know, last year we missed out because of him missing a chance, but on the whole, he's not the profile of a touchline winger. And looking at Thomas Partey, so he is 31 years old, turns 32 in June. He's on 200 grand a week. I can see the argument for either. I mean, it sounds awful. I don't care. If he leaves, I'd be like, as long as you get in a proper replacement. But same with Jorginho. I think you're right. I think Jorginho will become a coach, and I think he'll be a very good coach. His temperament is fantastic. He's very good at talking to the media. He's always like someone that reads the game. He's never really had pace. He's never really needed it because of the way he plays the game. DMs always seem to make great managers, especially in his mold. But I just look at his profile. We're being linked to Zubamendi again, which is a deal easier said than done to get that done. I don't know if we could, but he's like the perfect replacement for Jorginho. The lad over at Brighton, ironically, is it
Labour?
Yeah, he'd be a great player to come in, and probably, I mean, more in the party mold. So there are players to come in, but again, like when you're looking and going, well, we already need a goalkeeper, which is probably going to be what, 20 million, I guess we'd pay for that.
Yeah.
One of those guys, what would you say for them? Zubamendi's got to be 60. Baleba would be what, maybe 40.
No, that's Brighton. So you're looking at hundreds.
Yeah, maybe from Brighton, to be fair.
Look, they did 115 for Caicedo. So look, if they're going to charge up there, but if you're saying Zubamendi, obviously going big for a Jorginho replacement, are you under the assumption that Rice stays as that left 8 then, and we don't drop him permanently into the 6, get a cheaper backup, and then invest in an 8?
I have a feeling that the plan will be to get someone like Zubamendi in, and then they'll switch depending on games. So sometimes Rice will play with a 6 if we need more kind of cover in transition. Zubamendi will play in that role. The other thing that would be interesting is because obviously Marino played with Zubamendi, and they had they kind of like a hybrid double pivot at times. So maybe that's the option. So when you do rest Rice, you can play those two together. So maybe that's the thinking behind it. I mean, he's been linked for a long, long time with us.
Yeah.
But even still, it just doesn't fill me with confidence. I just don't know where we go right now to get over the line. All I know is for us to win the Premier League or win the Champions League, you need moments players, and you need to actually make a full statement in the window. Whether it's January, whether it's summer, you have to actually make a proper statement. If you look at Liverpool and their success in this current era is all based on getting Alisson in, Van Dijk in. They targeted those two players. There was the whole thing. Do you remember, like, people forget, like, Van Dijk, they almost went to court over that, and they almost like lost, and then they went back, and then they got him for a lot of money at the time. I just think we need to do the same. We need to look at it and go, right, the final piece of the puzzle is getting in said player, whoever it may be. Maybe it is Isak. And then we go, right, We put down the 100 and whatever million it is. We get him in, and then we get a left winger, and then we're done. We're set. But I just don't see the club doing it. And
Even
it's
like the Cunha links that came out this window that have now been quashed almost immediately. It screams of the fans know we probably need someone, so let's go and like tell the press that we're going for this guy, and then
yeah,
when he signs a new contract, we can go, oh well, sorry guys, we tried, but he signed a new contract. It screams of sort of. Do you know when Liverpool did it in the summer, 2 summers ago? Where they didn't really go for anyone, and they were like, quick, 110 mil at Caicedo. Oh,
yeah, yeah.
sorry, we tried. Throw 50 mil at Lavia. Oh,
I
he's
can't get
already
it
picked
done.
somewhere else. Sorry guys, we did try. And it's like, did you, or is this a little like?
We did it with Lamar. Do you remember? It might be. I mean, you're a little bit younger
We
than me,
accepted
Jack.
a bid from City, didn't we, for Sanchez?
Yeah, yeah.
And
I mean,
threw 90 million at someone.
it's a good tactic, to be fair. But it's almost too early in the window to do it.
Hmm.
If they had waited a little while, because now you got weeks and weeks, and the fans expect, and rightfully so. Like if we're not going to get anyone, I just think the club needs to come out with a statement and go, we're not trying to be defeatist, but we have a long term plan. And I know it would kill fans, but just come out and be honest and go, the long term plan, we've got big plans for the summer. Please stay calm, stick with us. In the summer, we're going to do something you understand, and just come out
Mhm.
publicly and say it. But the more and more that time goes on, and they do this and they play these games, because I don't even think Kenya was the right fit anyway. Um,
Maybe not, no.
I think like great. If we got him, I'd love it. I'd be like, great. We've got another player, but does he take us to the next level?
No.
Probably not. If we get in an Isak, we get in a Gyökeres, we get in an Osimhen, I think all teams around Europe look and go, oh, okay, Arsenal mean business now.
Mhm.
The same with the left wing. I think even if you got in a Nico Williams who hasn't hit the heights that everyone expected this season. If you get him in though, everyone's going to look and go, they've got one of the biggest prospects in world football, regardless of his performances so far this season. They'll go, they got the other winger to Lamau. So there are options there. Whether or not we do it is a different matter.
That's a whole different story, especially with Arsenal, where you never quite know. Like a Declan Rice might come out of nowhere. It might also be
Mm.
a Neto. It could genuinely be anything.
Please don't be another Neto, another cup-tied player. Like
Well,
I
we
don't.
can't loan anyone else this window because we've already got 2 loans, and one of
Yeah,
them won't
which
even
is
pay for it.
there's the rumor, isn't there, about Evan Ferguson? And I was like, well,
Hmm.
how do we do that? Do we
We
send
have to cancel
Sterling
Neto,
back? Yeah, or Neto,
and then
or
just firm Tommy Setford on the very rare possibility that Raya gets injured, which doesn't happen often, but you can
oh,
guarantee that if
that
we
just happened,
loan
wouldn't it?
Neto back,
Yeah,
he'll
it's
break his
just.
finger immediately.
But there we go. So that's our plan, everyone. There is no plan. Just hope for the best.
Yeah, just scattergun. Do a Chelsea.
yeah,
If you sign enough, some of them will be good.
yeah. I can really see Arsenal doing that. Oh well. I mean, we'll leave it there, mate. I don't want to get
Yeah.
too into the Newcastle game. I mean, Newcastle is Tuesday. I'll quickly go over it. So Newcastle is Tuesday evening. It's at the Emirates. This one, isn't it?
Mhm.
We are really, really shallow on our options now. So it looks like if we'll do just quick prediction of the team. I'm guessing Raya.
Has to be.
Yeah.
The other guy's got tied.
Calafiori come in again. I would suggest for this one, with the way they're attacking, I would probably say Calafiori,
Yeah,
Gabriel and Saliba. Timber's back, isn't he?
Timber's back.
And then a midfield of
Party.
Partey, Rice, Odegaard, if he's actually fit. But
Mhm.
he has not looked the same player recently. And then a front three of Trossard out on the left, Jesus up front, and Martinelli out on the right. Havertz might be back, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Maybe they bring Havertz in, But any changes to that team?
I don't think there's any you can
I
make
don't think
really.
we can.
I think there'll be a pivotal moment when the lineup comes out with the league out the question now, pretty much. I think if that lineup drops and there's a Kivior in there or something, I think a lot of the fan base at that minute will
Oh,
be you have to prioritize this cup. You can't rotate. I think that'll be a big moment when that drops, whether he does rotate and do like a Kivior, Jorginho. I think that'll be just, it's a big call,
yeah,
and
he's
that's what
got
you
to.
say.
He's got
Ruffle
to
some
get over the line.
feathers. Sorry, Kivior. I know it's Carabao Cup, but you're not as good as these guys, and I want a minute.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and rightfully so. But Wenger used to do it. Do you remember he used to like play sub goalkeepers all the way through? He gets to like
Mhm,
semi-finals and he go, "Nah, sorry, David Seaman's coming back in, or Jens Lehmann's coming back in now." And
mhm.
it's
Until the older
honestly,
days, and then he changed a bit, and he was doing like the Fabianski run all the way
oh
through,
god, yeah, that works out really
which
well for us.
yeah, that's good.
Ah. I mean, thank you so much for your time, Jack. For those of you that don't know, we had huge technical issues.
Mhm,
I had huge technical issues this morning. I've gone through 3 different platforms today to get this done. But if you haven't, please go subscribe to Jack on TikTok, especially. He is the TikTok king. So, Jack, what is your TikTok these days?
Oh God, Jack Devonport 34, I think,
Eh.
possibly, but yeah, if you type it in, it will come up, hopefully.
Jack's also on X at Devonport_Jack.
Mhm.
I think you're on the watch along on Tuesday for AFTV. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, on the sofa for Newcastle, so hopefully bit of positive energy off the pitch will bring some on it, but
Nice.
2-goal lead needed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, good luck for that, mate. Because if we don't win
Mhm.
that game, I don't. I just feel sorry for you. I hate doing
Yeah.
the instant reactions and stuff, let alone a watch along. Like I can't
Mhm.
imagine the kind of pressure on that. But yeah. So if you haven't, please go subscribe to Jack. He honestly, he is like one of the best up and coming content creators going around. You know your stuff, mate. I love it.
I
Love it.
appreciate it.
And if you haven't, please like and subscribe on the Forder on Football channel. You can catch me on TikTok now, following Jack's steps. Forder, Forder and Footy on X as well. I'm here, there, and everywhere, and obviously the Canon podcast doing my little weird thumbnails. But I will catch you all in the next one. Cheers now.